So we're going to do that. I'm going to exit this. Hello, anybody and everybody. There's no viewers right now, but there will be eventually. So we are going to be starting MindFit right now. Right now. Yay. Okay. Okay, yeah, just so you guys know, we do broadcast this because we have team members that are all over everywhere, so that sometimes people log in or they'll watch it back, you know, when they get off work or whatever. We allow it to, you know, have access to other people around. So, hi, welcome to the Fit Lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys been here before?
Once. Yeah.
Once. Okay, cool. When? Recently?
Grand opening.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is that?
Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's when she came, and you've come to mine before.
Yeah, MindFit.
Okay, cool. Nice. And I know you've been around. Awesome. Okay, cool. So my name is Elise, for those of you who don't know me. And today, you know, this topic around, or this concept around MindFit is really a conversation to raise our level of awareness, to shift maybe a perspective on life that we currently have, to kind of raise up that mirror and look at ourselves and say, huh, that's really good that I'm doing this, and maybe I can tweak this so that I can live a healthier, happier, more enjoyable life. I can give more of myself. It always kind of shifts, right? The conversation, we never really know how it's going to go. Today's topic is momentum. But I'm curious to see where this conversation is going to go. Like, literally every time after I leave, I'm like, wow, I had no idea that that was going to come up. You know, it's like we get to explore different meanings, different angles of what momentum looks like. So before we do that, though, last week our topic was connection. I know a couple of you were here last week. Do you want to share anything around connection or anything that came up for you last week?
Sure. I'll share. With us, we have a Diamond Academy, and we're doing more face-to-face and just meeting people that we don't know, people that are kind of outside of our circle of influence. And for me, hold on a second. There I am.
Okay, you are.
With connection, my invites and my, you know, meeting new friends, it's about me like developing something deeper than just, oh, come work out with me or come to MindFit. And it's changed the way I talk to my friends and my personal relationship and my family members. Like, I just feel like I want to get deeper with people and connect with them and just see who they really are, and just, you know, just a different conversation from connecting with people like, oh, what do you like? Like, where are you from? Like, we all have more things in common than not, and we're all more alike than, you know, everyone wants to be individual and different, but we're all connected some kind of way. So it's just changed the way I do my invites and the way I connect with other people in my life.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And to me, it just kind of like whenever you put it into like thinking about growing the business that we're in, it's a slower grow, but to me, it's a more solid, because when I was looking at what we were doing as go out and like, oh, nice sneakers, you want to come to work out? Like, that just feels so, like, I wouldn't respond to that if somebody, I have a girlfriend, actually, it was like a month ago, she was sharing with me, she was walking across the street, Angela, so maybe y'all know her, walking across the street, going to work, and like this girl like was walking next to her, like, how weird. Angela was like, what? And this girl was like, hey, you like to work out? And she was like, Angela doesn't like to work out, but she looks like she does like to work out. You know, she looks like she does. And she was like, not really. And she was like, well, you want to come to work out with me? And she was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, and Angela's very much that way. And she was just telling me, she was like, I think she was one of your people. Like, she sounds like one of the Herbalife people. And I was like, probably.
Yeah.
She's probably been in the business a week. That's how you don't want to do it. Like, it was just like so drive-by of an invite. And like, that just feels so uncomfortable. And so I haven't really been focused on, or my intention hasn't been like bringing people into the business, but like really just meeting new people and like meeting new friends, because whether they can use Herbalife or not use Herbalife, you never know. And so it's just like adding people as friends and adding people as like connections.
Mm-hmm.
And connection is huge to me. Without connection, we don't exist as humans. I mean, I believe that is solely our purpose here on Earth, and like the thing that drives us is connection. So it was a huge topic for me.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about that our topic last week was connection.
Yeah, we were just recapping last week. So welcome, hi. So as you know, connection as well. I'll just say a little bit on connection. Same thing, like all the conversations that I had, it was deeper, it was more profound. I spent that extra little moment with people. And, you know, a lot of our conversation last week was, if we're not connected to who we are and like in touch and connected to something higher than ourselves, how are we to go out and connect with other people? You know, and be genuine about it and be authentic about it. And so that was another piece that I really enjoyed about the conversation that we had last week around connection. And our topic this week is momentum. So I'm just really curious to see like how that shows up for each and every one of you in your life, or what that looks like. And maybe you don't know, maybe you've never really experienced it before, so maybe it's like a new concept. But I'm excited to talk about it, and whether it's around our business, around our emotions, our relationships, like momentum can come in all areas of our life. So I'm just going to kick it back to you guys. Does anybody want to share what momentum means to them, or like is there a thought or a picture or emotion that comes up around it? Yeah, go for it. And if you'll just say your names so we can all, I mean, we're such an intimate group today. I'd love to have everybody know who we are.
My name's Serena. I feel like I've experienced momentum, and I'm trying to get it to be constant, because I feel like it comes and goes. But when you get it, it feels really good. It's like there's nothing stopping you. You have all confidence. Everything that you want to get done gets done, and then you end up getting more done. And it's when you experience it, it feels just like you can do anything. And I feel like when you slow down, it stops you in your path of what you're supposed to be doing, your assignment for the day. And another thing with momentum is, I feel like to keep it, you have to really like what you're doing. You have to really want what you're doing, because if there's no drive, there's no momentum. It's like when you're running and then you start off with your heels and then you just start running on your toes and you're going really fast. And then when you stop, it's like, so yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
I was reading a quote this morning as I was like working on my Tumblr, which I like work on hardly ever, but this morning for some reason I was. But the quote was, "Don't look at where you fall, but look at where you slipped." And so I think that like when you're thinking about momentum and you feel like you're unstoppable but you know that it comes in fits and starts, and so you have to like when you start to think really deeply about momentum and what slips you up, it's like you have to look before where you fell, before where you noticed that you had stopped. Because I feel like that all of a sudden we stop running, and we're like, oh, what happened? But the decision to stop running, even if it was unconscious, you know, made by our subconscious, something like that was, 100 yards back or something, where you're like, I don't want to stop, think stop, and then you stop. So like to identify where you slip and what is that trigger, I think is equally as important as being able to harness momentum. Because then you can like actively move those roadblocks out of the way, and you can start to identify where you're slipping.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have anything you want to share on momentum? Or how momentum shows up for you?
I heard a cool podcast the other day, and I really liked that. They were talking about how a bunch of great inventions in this world were by accident. They were just invented by accident. But all those dudes or ladies were working towards something else. So it's like the guys who made city putty were trying to make a different kind of plastic. And oh, we can sell this. So I feel like forward progress and momentum, if you just keep working towards what you're working, you may not get there, but I feel like the world kind of opens up. Like once you're working towards this thing, and so for me, like I don't even, at this point, I just make a list in the morning and start going through it emotionlessly. Like it's just stuff I have to do because I just know it's going to open. It's like sometimes you want to work out, sometimes you don't. It makes you feel better, so you just do it. And so like they were talking about obviously antibiotics, saccharin, just all these things that we were working towards this, and then this happened. And it like Woody Allen's Annie Hall was supposed to be like she was a secondary character. It was supposed to be a comedic murder mystery, and the editor was like, "We'll cut all that shit out. You got a romantic comedy here." And then they invented a new genre. That was not on purpose. Like, but they were working towards this thing, and then this other thing lost. And I think the other thing about momentum is a lot of times when we see our goal may be changing, we see that as resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, I gotta stop now because I'm not going there. When really, maybe everything's pushing you towards this other thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where you should be going. So, yeah, that's why it's just like, just keep going, and good things will happen in anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's one of my favorite movies.
I know.
Wish
I
they
love
made
that
a movie
movie.
with, you know, like Crimes and Misdemeanors. Yeah. Like, he's done those genre stuff, and then now it's like, we put all that out. There's something here.
But it's literally just being open to like what the universe
Yeah.
has for you, and like taking your momentum and doing what you have to do, and like being in flow, but then being open to what the universe is like gonna guide you towards. Because maybe momentum is one of those things that can't be controlled.
Yeah.
You know, we were doing the workout on Sunday. I was working with Cam, and we were like, okay, momentum. How are we gonna do this? I want to do something that expresses momentum, and so I like was having people do like slow and controlled lunges like into a sprint, and I was like, okay, kind of like it looks like whatever. But like as I saw them doing it, like, and as I started speaking to them, I was like, you know, and I saw people rushing through the lunges to get to the sprint, just like, you know, with no mind technique, no mind to form, like just like rushing through it to get to the sprint, to get to the finish line. And so then I started to change the way I was speaking to people, and I was like, you know, you really have to focus on the moment before you take off. Like you have to make sure you're doing that right. You have to give that your attention. Make sure that you're, you know, doing each lunge the best you can do. So you know, it's like, because you can't just rush off in any willy-nilly direction and call it momentum. Because otherwise, it's just kind of just all over the place. It's frantic. And so then it kind of like started to make me think about momentum, and like that maybe there is a part of momentum that is stillness in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
As you get like clear on what your goal is, or like how you want to go, and that part is just as important as the part that looks fast, that gets all the like attraction, or gets all the attention.
In saying that, there were some of our coaches that were here late last night, and we were having a conversation about momentum, and kind of everyone sharing what they were thinking about it. And I didn't go up and share, but what I was thinking about was kind of what you're saying, but I was thinking about it in the sense of it being the foundation. So whatever your foundation is, and again, whatever area of life, if it's business, it's like building that solid foundation, knowing your brand, knowing who you are in it, so that you can launch off powerfully. Or, you know, if it's in your relationship, you know, having it like, okay, this is who I want to be in the relationship. This is how I want to show up in the relationship. And then the momentum can happen from that. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there is that base piece that if missing, the momentum may not be as fast or as strong.
Mm-hmm.
or sustainable. Absolutely. Because it might crumble from underneath because it's not sustainable, right? It might get tiring. When you were talking about you want to sustain the momentum, you know, we were talking last night as well about like momentum does actually come in waves. Because there is a piece of like the momentum happens, and then you kind of have to ground yourself again. And, you know, okay, what's the next foundation to have the momentum again? Now, that doesn't mean, though, that the lows maybe don't have to be as low, right? Instead of the waves being like this, they can be a little bit more like this. And so you're experiencing, like, from the high, then there's foundation. Then you go to another high versus coming all the way back down to ground zero. So that was something that I was thinking about when you shared that. And then you were, about being open to possibilities, like, right? So that's another thing that somehow we always end up coming, no matter what our topic is, coming back to trusting our intuition and trusting the universe and being connected to something, a higher power, whatever that is for you. And when you were saying that, I was like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what topic. Like, it's really always rooted back to what is it that you have your trust and belief in? You know, what are you trusting and believing in? What are you surrendering to? Because you're right, like going. I mean, I've had this goal in Herbalife to go this direction. And along the way, these beautiful, like, flowers have blossomed. And, you know, I'm working with people in a whole new way. And I never thought would be possible. You know, I just never knew. So I fought it for a long time, though, because I'm like, no, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. But once people in my life told me to kind of surrender to what was going on, it's like, holy cow, what a beautiful gift. You know, you can actually see the miracles along the way. And by actually doing where the universe is telling you to go, then the momentum actually happens more. Mm-hmm. That was a lot. But that was everything that kind of came up as everyone was sharing. Yeah, of course.
Does anyone have like, I guess, advice through experiences to like what you said when you're going up to not come all the way down? Is there like advice as to how you can like maybe, I don't want to say start over, but kind of ground yourself again so you can get back to what you were doing?
Yes. Yes.
Got passion over here. I like it. Here we go.
No, it was just like I told me and Sarah were talking about an emotional issue, and I was like, trust yourself because what you've learned you can't unlearn.
That's so true.
So if you work to make yourself better, you're always worried about going back to who you were. You can't unlearn everything. You can't unexperience life. So like after a certain amount of time, you're gonna be like, oh, this sucks, and I like stop going forward. So you're gonna stop like dealing with it. You're just gonna keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Like once, just trust yourself. Like you won't you're like, oh, what if I do all this and then I go back? Well, after you've done all this, you can't
go back.
Go back. You just can't like that. It's like a video game when the wall keeps pushing and you're jumping, you can't go back. So you'll be fine. Like everyone loves to say, oh, what happens if I fail? Or like just you won't stop once you start. You can't once you've worked out and you felt better, you're not gonna be like, you know what, that Mountain Dew, I need that 32-ounce Mountain Dew right about now. No, don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like once it's there, it's there. Like if you do this, the coming down won't be that hard. You'll just be like, oh, I'm just starting again. That's it.
So I feel like when you know something, use your knowledge, and then you start to feel it, and then like the possibilities of that. What you gotta do?
I'm even saying more than that. I'm saying just if you're the kind of person that worries about that stuff, if you're the kind of person that's worked towards making yourself better, you won't go back. It's a doubt you have, it's a doubt we all have as humans. Trust me, you won't. Like you can't now. All those things you've learned, all those new tools you have, you can't give them back. Like the world's giving you these things that make you productive and make you first want to do this. Any person that wants to do this and then gets this, once they go like this, doesn't matter because they know they can get back up again. Once you learn how to climb the mountain, you're just climbing it over and over. It's not, you know.
Especially if you're really connected to your journey, if you're connected to this journey, then if you find yourself sliding back down or you don't have the momentum, I think one of the things he's saying, or what I'm taking from what he's saying, is like you can't unlearn these things. You've had this journey now, and so if you're connected to that and you trust yourself and you're connected to what you've learned, then there's no way you can get all the way back down here. If you're not connected to your journey and if you don't trust yourself, then there is a way you can get back down here. I mean, you can allow yourself to fall deep, dark, back down in that hole, but you're going to have to step away from yourself to allow yourself to do that, you know? And then maybe you never really were up here. So, I mean, you really have to, there's work that's done, you know, as the momentum gains. And it's like about self-love and self-respect and being connected and all of that stuff, that if you get up there with all of that, there's no way you can fall all the way back down. You just have to you have to trust yourself, that you've learned the things that you've learned. And I know that him and I have had this conversation a lot, and he's actually said it to me, like, Sarah, you know this, you've learned this stuff. And I know that I've learned this stuff, and that's why I have awesome friends like that are like, duh, Sarah, you know this stuff, you learned this stuff. And deep down, I know that I've done this stuff and I've learned this stuff, and I just have to respect that about myself, you know, and be connected to it. And respect that, like, sometimes you stop for a reason. And you can't judge yourself, and you can't be too hard on yourself, and you can't talk down at yourself about it, because it's all part of the journey. Once you start to make the click that this is part of the journey, the ups and downs are part of the journey, it's not in spite of the journey, then you'll respect the ups and downs. They're going to happen, and so then you won't beat yourself up about it.
I was going to say, also, when I was talking about doing lists, don't just do lists to get stuff done. Do lists to also give yourself perspective as to how much you've done. Like, I can't do more than 5 things a day. That's it. I can write that I'm going to do 12. But that's being unfair to myself. Because I'd like to have a drink with my friends at the end of the day. Or I'd like to hang out with my buddies. So, the other thing about going up here and starting over, maybe instead of going like this, you just set the incline at a 2 or 3. And you're just going consistently. and it leads to less burnout, and you turn it down, you go for a walk, and then you turn it back up to that 3, you go for a jog. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people.
Pace.
Yeah, pace, man. A lot of people, especially, we're going to talk about sales and commission sales, which I was in for a long time. You're like, I'm going to make 20 calls in the next hour. And it's like, are you really? You're putting yourself under a lot of pressure, and you're not going to do that. Mm-hmm. You're going to honestly be able to make, let's say, each call is 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Or then it means you're going to make 1 call, no matter how much you want to make 20 calls in 30 minutes. So it's also good to write down what you want to do so you give yourself breathing room. Because I promise you, you can do 20 things in 1 day, or you can do 20 things in 3 days, and you will be a lot happier, and I bet you more productive during those 3 days, because you're going to add an hour here, an hour there, instead of going the 20 straight. Because by the time you hit 10 in the first day, you're done. You're just, doing email, whatever it is, and barely having an effort. So I think that also helps. Everybody just like, let's go now, let's do everything today, and you just can't. You can't.
I feel like I had gotten to that point where I could do that, and now I guess I'm starting to realize that not always should be that. And I was thinking about it to myself, like, okay, I'm going to work my way up, but instead of feeling it, I'm just doing it. Yeah. So it's like a complete different experience. Yeah. So
complete different outcome too. Yeah. I mean, I've heard we pick up things as we know people, like good tips and some bad tips. But I've heard somebody say, I did like 89 invites, but I crossed off 30 because I'm not gonna call them. And it's like, well, then why did you do those 30?
It's like a waste.
Like, stop doing it just to do it. Like, stop going like. You sound like a boy that's like, I'm gonna get 18 numbers just because I can from girls. Well, now you've given boys like a bad name. Like, it's been years and years that we're like, ew, boy. Like, stop doing things just to do them. Do things because you want to do them because your heart's in them. And then it's like so much more productive. And how we say around here, how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. Like, if you just do invites to do invites, then you just do a lot of things. You just do a lot of things in your life. And there's like your heart is missing out of it. So it's quality over quantity, I think.
Going back to connection and passion and some of the other topics that we've really been diving into, coming alive with your heart with it, And I think, too, another thing that can support is having an accountability partner. Someone in your life who won't let you go there. Because, yes, you learn the lessons, and yes, we got to work on pace, but if you do start going there for whatever reason, you got to have that friend or family member or someone in your life that's like, nope, I'm not going to let you do it. I'm not going to let you go there. So finding someone in your life who is connected with you enough to know where you're at in those cycles.
Right. And I feel like I don't necessarily have an accountability partner, but I feel like I can see signs around people. Like, if I go in my aunt's house and I just go get some ice cream. What? You're eating ice cream? And for a second, like, usually it would make me feel, oh, you know what? I'm having a break. I've been doing all good this week and I'm taking a small break. But at that moment, it was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Like, it's like, and it's kind of difficult to distinguish the two. Like, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? And I have to feel like, without having a partner that's on the same journey as you, I think you just have to listen to yourself. Mm-hmm. Because listening to people around you that aren't doing the same thing as you will get you messed up. I feel like it messes up what you're doing. So, yeah. I think what you said, just listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you've already laid the groundwork. The reason why your aunt reacts to you that way is because you've already laid the groundwork for her to react that way. Like, you have now set up for your rituals that you are living, how you sort of like you want to be reacted to and like how you live your life. And so when you do something now that's out of the norm, people are like, wait, what are you doing? And you're like, that's right, I've already done the work. So people will unconsciously, subconsciously check me,
Should I respond to that is what
I think you have to look at the fact that like you laid the groundwork for not eating ice cream and, being healthy. And so when you reach for the ice cream, or somebody says, why are you having ice cream? Like, you don't eat ice cream.
Maybe I should have ice cream.
What are you doing? You don't eat ice cream,
Yeah, you're the one who has to answer that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have to live with that decision, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I would have a difficult problem with, because I feel like listening to other people this is just my experience. For a long time, listening to other people has gotten me nowhere. It's when I listen to myself, it's when I start getting somewhere and being happy with myself and not worrying about what other people are trying to tell me to do. Especially as a child, you know, people are always telling you, you should do this, you should do that. And it's like, when you listen to yourself, go further. But I guess what you're saying, that is just like a sign. Now judge it for yourself.
It's a reflection, I think, especially if you're having a feeling about it when she says it. It's a reflection of something you're already saying inside.
That actually.
And so, you know, so then you have to weigh, like, okay, she's saying it, whatever, but I'm saying it also, so now there's two of us saying it. So
when someone else tells me, because of that experience of not wanting to listen to anyone else, it's like I repel.
Right.
And I'm like,
I'm going to eat this. I fully know that.
That's what I hate, because it's like the more people tell me, the more I want to just do, like, go downhill, basically. And I guess I need to listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
welcome to the struggle.
You know what, though? Here's the other thing, too. It's like, she says that because you've become an example,
Yeah.
you know, which is positive.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah. But then here's the other thing, too. You can also be an example for, like, yeah, I work out, I look good, and guess what? When you do it right, I can have ice cream.
Yeah, and that's up to you to decide.
Yeah, and if that day you want to have it, like it's 4th of July, I'm going to have 3 of these motherfuckers. You don't want, like, that's fine, yeah, but if it's not 4th of July, you'd be like, no, I'm just going to have one. If you want to split it, it'd be cool with that. But it doesn't mean it's good or bad, it's just,
it's up for you to decide that.
And you can also be an example of, like, yeah, this isn't some weird thing. It's not like you push ups and eat grass, you know? You know, it's like,
Push ups and grass.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're living your life.
Right.
You know, that is part of all of this as well. But it does come, whether someone says something or not, you get to decide. You get to decide.
One thing that I'm just thinking about, because Elise and I had a conversation about it last week, because I have a sort of like, when people tell me something that I don't want to hear, I like have like, I don't, you know, tell me what to do, like I'll even have a really negative reaction to it, even if it's in my best interest, you know, and that's something that I'm working towards. But like I was saying that, you know, like what it's turning out to be is like how people want me to show up in the world is actually the way that I want to show up in the world.
Right.
And so I need to stop
Fighting it
or having a negative reaction when they want what I want. And so really I'm cutting my nose off to spite my face by acting in the opposite. Because we're stubborn. I don't know. Because we're control freaks. I don't know.
And
I'm figuring it out.
There's a thing about humans, too, that we want to be right. Because we feel like not being right means that we're weak, or people are going to judge us because we're wrong, or whatever. You know, it's part of having that control and not wanting to let go.
You know, I think it's also, I feel like, so we have this car, right, this new car, and then,
that's our bodies, our bodies are
I know, I didn't get it either. I'm glad
but
you
it's got
said
like really shitty racket feeling, right, like it's really hard to drive, and the ego is what is in the way.
Totally.
Right, but here's the thing, like you said, the person who shows up, people are like, hey, you should, you know, take care of your body a little better. It's because you should take care of it. And if it offends you, it's probably because it's
True.
Yeah. With me, it's like, hey, man, maybe not so angry all the time. And it's like, no, my anger is justified. It's like, yeah, but you're still angry. So it's these things where you're like, no, I'm right. When is it you talking or is it your ego talking? Those are two separate things.
Totally different.
Yeah, your best interest and your ego are at odds all times of the day. So, yeah, I think once you clear away the ego, you can drive the new car a little better. So then it's just like, you're like, no, don't go. But here's the thing, like you're saying, it's like the easy choice is always the ego-driven choice. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have the ice cream. Awesome. Like,
I deserve it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna do what I want. Yeah, because I deserve it. Because I whatever. Like,
I'm in charge of the meat cart.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm choosing to be body positive. My knees don't hurt at all, and I'm not tired of saying bullshit. Like, it sucks. Like, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? So there's just, I think whenever you hear those things, when people tell you certain things, especially your loved ones, it's not always. Some people are idiots. But I feel like she says, there's a lot of times where you rebel because you agree with them, not because you disagree with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for
That's what I meant to get to. Is it pisses you off because they're saying exactly what that little voice is saying like, yeah, I don't have that. And then she said, like, oh, it's two of y'all now. So then suddenly you're in a fight. Yeah. So now we're in a fight.
Yeah, now there's a fight. I'm gonna win.
Yeah. So that's, I think, what it becomes. It's like you feel ganged up on.
Yeah.
When it's really just your ego who came the second, but you're not really. It's just one person like, oh, ice cream.
That's my friend.
Yes.
Hi. And then another thing, I feel like once you start listening to it more, you start to become more right. And then it builds it up all over again. So when somebody tells you something, it's like, no, I've been right for so long. I'm not listening.
And it's almost like sometimes when you hear it from someone else, you're not ready to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Like your real, true, authentic self isn't actually ready to hear that message.
And it hurts.
And
It really does.
yeah, so it's like hearing that, you're like, okay, I've been saying that, but now somebody else says it. It's that true? No, I'm not going to allow that to be true. And so that's where like the ego will step in or that fight begins. Because I think a lot of times you're just not ready to hear it.
Since you just let it go, like be at fault, accept it, and move past it.
But you see,
You find you're right for
immediately
you. You find you're right for you.
Yeah, you immediately said you could be at fault. So if you're not at fault, you're right. So you immediately painted the world as right or at fault, which is real crazy. Not even wrong.
Crazy.
At fault.
At fault? Well,
Yeah, just think about that. Hey, you said, well then, should I just be at fault? There is a gray area where what's right for you is right for you, and what's right for them is right for them. You don't have to be at fault.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be fault. You can just try to figure out, I mean, any situation, like I said, when it was the ice cream bar, it's like, you being at fault would have been like, yeah, I'm going to eat this. But then I was like, but it doesn't have to be, it would be like, yeah, I'll work out. I look good, so I can have this without any guilt.
You can remove the judgment.
Yeah, you see how it was like, now you're not at fault. Now you've empowered yourself to be like, this is a choice I am making that I'm justified to make. Even if she came at you at a negative way, let's say she's like, don't eat that. You'd be like, yes, because I've done the work.
Or no, because I've done the work and I don't feel like it.
Yeah, and you don't feel like it.
So the ego is the culmination or combination of your karmic experiences, so all the stories that you tell yourself. So speaking of momentum, it's like you're running, and you have all these bungee cords attached to you. And each bungee cord is a story.
Yeah.
So the further you go, different ones are going to get taught and try to pull you back. So what's nice is when you have a situation like that, it's like somebody, you know when you get a bungee cord really tight and you pluck it and it makes a noise?
Yeah.
That, are you sure you're going to eat that? It's plucking that because it's telling you that bungee cord is tight. So that's the story that you need to run through because you need to break it. So you have a choice. Are you going to let that? So when the bungee cord is taut, it's either going to get so taut it's going to start pulling you back, and so it's giving you that, reverse momentum. You're not going to go all the way back to source, but it's bringing you back to where you were, like you were talking about earlier. Or you can break through it and break the bungee cord. And how you do that is you put focus on, so yours is are you going to eat that? Because there's also, I feel a lot of shame cycle in there as well. Like, oh, are you sure you're going to eat that? Like, you've been doing so well, like, it's trying to put you in a place. And that place is that story. Or you can reflect on the story, like, what is that bringing up for you?
That's what I'm trying
And so you said, well, fault.
Yeah.
So why would it be your fault?
Yeah.
Like fault is blame. That's not food is nothing. It doesn't matter what you eat. That food is not fault. Because it's food is who you are is the combination of what you eat, so it's, as long as you balance that out, you're fine. But why is that fault?
Yeah.
It's not fault. I think I just use that as a word. Like, not fault, but it's like taking responsibility, I guess, for what you're doing and recognizing it. That's not fault, but that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
And then moving past it, like you said, focusing on it and breaking it.
Breaking the fact that you have an emotional reaction to it at all.
Yeah.
That it makes you feel some type of way, good or
I
bad.
started to realize that means something. That's
Right.
not just you being,
Right. It's not about the ice cream. It's about
it's always something deeper.
Yeah. And I think that by choosing the words at fault too, like I don't really think he meant wrong or right, but I would look into the fact that maybe there are some I know for myself, there's definitely like shame attached to food because I used to be heavier, and it's been a battle. It's been like a hard one. I mean, I've loved my journey now, but there's definitely like, if I'm eating ice cream and somebody's like, Sarah, you're too fat, don't eat that ice cream, I would feel bad. I would feel negative. So there's like, look at, like what your thoughts are surrounding foods that you're not supposed to eat, or you feel you're not supposed to eat, bad foods. Which foods aren't bad or good, I mean, they're just food.
I think I've led myself to believe that based on my surroundings because people in my family are heavy. So I'm always been smaller. Then when I really, I started to notice myself getting heavy, I'm like, I'm not going to lose that. So I started to make everything bad. Like, all this food is bad. And then when somebody tells me it's okay, I'm like, it's definitely not. I'm not listening to you. Look at you, like,
right.
Which is not good, but it's just how I kind of trained myself to be survival. Yeah. It's how I trained myself to get smaller, and it worked for me. So I guess I'm wired to think that that's what works. That's the only thing that works. But suffering is not necessarily. Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is like when people give unsolicited advice, they're really doing it because they love you. Like honestly, like ultimately, like I know it feels like such judgment, but I'm so used to I am one to give unsolicited advice, y'all.
Queen of wanting advice and giving.
I feel like I'm the same way. I give people advice even when
Yeah, but you do it because it's like you see such potential in someone, or you see like what they should be doing, and you're like, I know what you have to do to get there, but I need to tone it down and keep my mouth shut. But like as the other person, you should just recognize that the other person might be fighting a hard battle too. Now, really does love you and has your best interest in mind.
You give Cindy advice that she doesn't want, she's not reacting that way. For the first hour, and then she'll be like, it takes her a while to come around to it.
Yeah.
The ego drives the new car for the next hour.
Right,
running into
things.
Yeah.
You guys are not right.
Like advice and run it up. Like I'm gonna go run around the block for an hour.
Talking about momentum too, I mean, bringing up the question that you had about like not going down, not going backwards. I mean, certainly there is a momentum in that way too, though. Whether if it's within you or within someone else or in your family or something, but every single moment we have a choice. We have a choice to rise, or we have a choice to hang out, be lazy, go into the depression mode or whatever that is. And honestly, if someone's there, and I mean, I've been there in the past, it's like day one, you're like, okay, whatever, like, I'm just going to, like, stay inside, keep the curtains closed, but enough of that will have the momentum drive you there. But, I loved what you said. It's like, when you can rise out of that and really start going towards your goal, then the choice to go up is way easier than the choice to go down. But if you're at ground zero, I believe a lot of times that choice to go down is easier.
It does feel easier.
Until you've built that muscle
just
of what that looks like to head towards your goals, your dreams, happiness, whatever it is for you. I just think that's an interesting concept.
And I think that's one of the cool things too about what we do in Herbalife too, because a lot of times we work with people that want to reach goals that they don't know that they can because they are at ground zero, and so it's really hard to like change your lifestyle. It's really, really hard, and so to have the support and to have somebody like taking your hand, as long as you're willing to put your hand out, and be led up, then to see the transition of like having to like lead somebody up and be like, you can do it, into like them standing on their own is like the coolest thing ever. And then knowing that they're not going to go back down because like they're like up here running. It's just really awesome.
I think along the way too, it's like, again, whatever profession you're in or relationships, it can come into any area of your life, asking lots of questions. Because in asking the questions, you can find the stories. You can find where people are holding on to. And, either support them and talking them through it, or just answering those questions can be tough sometimes, and you can see where people are getting caught in their stories. And it's like, okay, cool. When did that story start? How long has it been around? And are you willing to let it go? You know, it might take a while to get to that point. And I know in the beginning when people would try to do that, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was a really emotional process. Now I'm able to support people with it. But it's asking a lot of questions can really support people in like clearing the brush, whether it's in front of you or behind you. You know, clearing it either way will support in that forward movement and that forward momentum.
It's really different when you go from start to have those kind of conversations, because I feel like before you don't even realize that all those are stories. You just realize that you keep, I know for myself, I was just like, why am I repeating the same patterns? And it's not like I am repeating the same patterns. It was me. But at the time, it's just like, why the same thing keeps happening to me? Like, I just don't understand. And then once you like move past that and are able to see that they are stories that, you know, that you've been living over and over and over again, it's really liberating to like find out that you can start to change that. Not that it's easy and not that it's not work, but I mean, I know people still, you know, that are continuing to replay these stories, and you say to them, you know, that's a story, and they're like, well, you're speaking Greek. Like, they don't understand that at all. They don't even understand that language. You know, and it's like improving your language and your way of being able to think about your past. It's like learning a whole new language, foreign language. That's cool.
You were talking about being wired. You know, growing up, all of our teachers, our parents, our family, whoever we spent time with, shaped us and wired us in a way that is good or not good. You know, it's like when you start to become, you're still really young. Yeah. 15. Yeah, right?
I was 16 and like.
Aww.
Right? I mean, how incredible that you're in this conversation now.
Right?
It's incredible.
That's awesome.
What?
She says like you were half my age.
Today.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, how incredible that you're in this conversation now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, it gives me chills to think about it, because there's people who go through life who never hear this conversation.
Yeah.
Or they're 70 and they hear this conversation, which amazing. But to hear it at 15 and start to learn that you can get connected to who you really are, and you don't have to allow all of the outside influences to shape you to who you are, that you can really, you know, take on what you want to take on and say, no, I choose not to believe that. I choose not to let that become a part of who I am. Or, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I want to choose that to be a part of who I am. And I don't know where I was going, but I just got caught up in your 15 years old. But
it's interesting because so much of our stories and the pain, it's inherited. Because you think like you were talking about your family being overweight, so you inherited that burden.
Yes.
You inherited, like, you are naturally thin, and you inherited that fear of eating ice cream as a 15-year-old is going to, like, balloon you up into something that you don't want to be. You inherited that. I mean, we all have things like that, and there's things like being a woman, there's so many things that are inherited. You have to recognize what story you're telling yourself because someone else is telling it to you, or because, like, it's literally in your DNA.
Absolutely. Hi, how are you?
I was just working in the area. And
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're in the middle of our MindFit. You're more than welcome to join our conversation for the next 10 minutes.
Why not?
Yeah. Hey, baby, how are you?
So our conversation today is all about momentum. This is one of our health coaches that works in the area. It's Chloe Rowley.
I just thought you were, like, servicing one of Amazing.
Yeah, so we have, I think, like 10 minutes left, but we're just talking about momentum, and
then it
turned into like stories that we make up in our life that, you know, you've been in this conversation, like stories that we get to let go of, and all of that. And she's 15, and it's incredible that she's in this conversation. So we're just really excited right now. So continue.
No, but what's nice is you're in a place where you get to choose, and you're already 15 and you're recognizing this. Like, you have a lot of years not to get fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things. Like, I love that, like, what did Oprah say? Like, you have 18 years for your family to, like, ruin you, and then you have 18 years to get over it, and then you're on your own. Like, it's your own fault if you have an issue.
Sure.
But, like, you're early.
To not waste your 20s banging your head against the wall going, why does this happen?
I feel like
Because I'm banging my head against the wall.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The power of choice, to know that you have the power of choice at such a young age.
That's so crazy.
It's so good.
You know.
I was right now interested in thinking about the circuit. Sarah knows I always talk about the people's personalities as their operating system, right? So you're programmed by your parents, your environment, whatever. So you have this OS. And the hardest thing, you guys know this, whenever it pops up, you're like, do you want to update this? You're like, no, I'm good. And I feel like, but then version 3.0, something comes out, and now you're not compatible. And now you're like, it's good, I'll just do it. So, remind me tomorrow, bro, I'll meet you tomorrow. And then it's like, it's really not that hard. But you just go
You just click on it, but every day you get that.
Wow, but what a concept.
That's
like,
crazy.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yep.
So if you're saying remind me later, remind me later, remind me later,
Yeah.
no thank you, no thank you, like what are you saying to the people who are like saying here's the gift,
universe.
here's a miracle, like here I want to give you,
Yeah,
and you're
it's
like
this update will
Man.
make you happier.
Well, and if you get so far behind, then it's like becomes even more work to
Yeah.
get
Wow.
to it. Because like you think like if I'm Windows 95, to update me to whatever it is now is
that was a great example.
That
That
is.
just got me really excited and really thinking about my life.
gonna make your
Cyborgs a lot.
That's
It's
such a
always
great
just
Isn't it?
Like,
That is powerful, because that is me. Remind me later, remind me later. It's like, no, do it now, today,
And that's the thing is you get these great gifts from life.
for life.
But it's like working out sucks. I know once I start, I'm good. But starting it, I just
Starting
like,
it, that's
shut
the
up,
thing for a lot of people,
go.
is taking the first step.
Yeah, because it
That's
sucks.
everything.
It
Yeah.
sucks. But like now I have that update where it's like, yeah, but once you're into the third squat or whatever, like just go. So but I had to do that update. And it took a while. It was like I got one that was buggy. Like I got 2.5, and it was like I work out every other day. But then you start, updating it, or you don't, and you get stuck at whatever, and you're like, this is bitch as fuck. Yeah, it's stuck, and then
Well, then you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do, and somebody has to be like, look, you need to update. Are you
Yeah.
committed? Are you in? Let's do this. Here's a plan. Step one.
anything in the realm of physics, like what are the two laws of, or there's three laws of motion, so the first one is an object in motion will stay in motion, object at rest will stay at rest, but then in order to get that object in motion, you have to apply a force of, was it full opposite? I can't remember.
Something like that, yes.
Literally.
Yeah. I need to like even remember that much.
But yeah, so if you think like in order to make that momentum, then it's like what you were saying, bringing it back to what you were saying earlier, that it's the getting started that's the important part, because that's the force that drives you.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
the hardest step.
it's like once you get
It's all
going,
downhill
it's a little
from there.
easier until you.
So that's what they were saying about those balls.
Yeah.
Like Leo was using that example, like the two in the middle can remain, or they will remain moving as long as the two in the middle remain solid together. To have something to bounce on.
Yes.
Like having that firm foundation, which is the hardest part. But also to not be scared of the stillness in the beginning, because I think that like that was one of the, and I turned to Cindy because that was one of the hardest things before I came to Herbalife, is that I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like running around like, what do I do? What do I do? And I had health insurance. I think I've said this before in New York. So I was like, I'm going to see the therapist because it's free. I don't really know what I want to talk about, but here we go. And I was expressing like I didn't know what I wanted to do and running around like crazy. And she was like, just be still. You don't have to do anything. Just wait, because if you're too busy like doing all this, you might not ever see what this is that you're supposed to be doing. So I know as you're in between jobs, like to not get too like worried.
I want it all, but then again, what am I gonna do?
Right,
Yeah.
to just be still, get connected to what you really want. I think that's what we were talking about, like really envision like the perfect job and don't worry about whether it exists or not,
Yeah.
like what its qualities are, and then let it
Yeah, I like that.
I've been doing this course, and it's talking about the universe always tells you where you need to go if you just listen. And so one of the things you do is, I've been doing the past 2 weeks, is writing down any coincidences I see. And there's so many things that it's like, I write it down, and I was like, about 100 people have told me this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Funny. And then I'm like, oh wait, but here's the universe, like, it's about to throw a brick at me in the face.
Like, really?
Here's what you want.
It
Here's
will.
how you do it. You're gonna be like, how do I do this? Here you go. So if you like just sit and like listen to the coincidences, it's even to the point where you like ask a question and I'm like, oh, that's it. Like if that's actually
it's right around my little shoulder.
Like, oh, I think I really want to do martial arts, but I don't know what I want to do. And I turn and there's a Krav Maga studio right there, and I'm like, oh right, that's what I okay.
Yeah, but we miss it so many times, or we're not aware, we don't see it. And like going back to your example of like the updates, like every single choice that we make either has our momentum move forward or stay still or go back. It's like every single moment we have a choice. You know, going back to the choices, like the power of choice. So just by pressing yes, update, that's gonna forward our momentum. I see the crowd in the golf studio. Yes, that's what I'm going to. Now it's not just seeing it though, it's then making the decision to like go look at the schedule and plan a time.
Yeah.
It's like there's only so much that the universe can do, and then it's like we have to take it on and say, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take another step in it. Because it's one thing to notice it, but then it's another thing to like take that next step. So it's like, I love, there's a woman who supports us, Monica Zanz. She does a program called The Next Level for health coaches in Herbalife, and it's all about personal development, business development, and like moving forward. And she always says, like, there's your goal, yes, but what is your very next step? You noticed the studio. Okay, great. What is your next step? Oh, to look up classes, or to drive right there and park and walk in and ask what their schedule is. And then the very next step after that would be scheduling a class, like actually putting one on your calendar. So it's like so many times we try to get ahead of ourselves, but if we really would just click update, okay, then we're there, we're updating. And then it says, okay, confirm update. That's the next step. Then taking a look at what the new update looks like. You know, it's like, what is your next step? Like next step, the next step. And that, enough of those next steps over time creates the momentum that we're going for. It creates what we're looking for in our life.
I feel like I anticipate everything because, like I said, I kind of feel like I was going back down, you know, and you said you can't unlearn what you already know. So I guess it's just just going to the next step and not necessarily trying to skip it and go to what you're already at. Just take it slow, I guess. It's hard though, because it makes you feel like I was doing something better. What is going on? But I guess if you just know that you're working towards something, it's comfort.
And that everything is right in that moment.
Yeah.
You take the judgment away from it and you don't say better or worse, just what is now. You know, then it makes it feel a little easier. If yesterday was better, you know, it makes today feel worse. If today is just today.
And if you think about that next step, you say, okay, it's slower now because maybe it's a new muscle that you're building, but over time, that next step is next step, and then all of a sudden you're, you know, the whole boulder is rolling so fast just because you've built that muscle of next step. We're at 2 till, so let's talk about some action steps for the week. I know a few of us are going to be heading to Chicago, which is exciting. Hey! But in the process of this whole momentum, things that I've kind of taken away from everything, I think number one is like figuring out what you want to create momentum in. You know, like maybe sit down and journal, what do I want to create momentum? How in my life do I want to create momentum, or where do I want momentum to show up? So I think that's number one. Number two, I always say this, but I think being silent for a moment, just really getting connected to what is it that you're looking for, momentum, and also like asking for the gifts from the universe, like asking for what is my next step. I love looking at pace. We talked about pace, so look at the pace that you're in right now, and if you're not currently going in the direction you're going, like look at pacing for where you're at, and then what is your next step. Those I think would be the steps that I'm thinking of. Do you guys have any other action steps that you feel like would be supportive?
Sharing this conversation with someone.
Absolutely.
And then getting an accountability partner if you
Great.
already have one.
Accountability friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Partner sounds like we use it for life, but to apply it, you can apply it in your outside world.
A friend who's going to hold you to what you say you're going to do.
For sure.
You know, one thing to check on the end, you were saying, like, think about the updates and everything and the right way to do things, like the problem of God studio. Like, the universe whispers, your ego yells. Because the universe is reasonable. So, like, the problem of God plays,
Your ego is not
the problem of God plays isn't necessarily going to have a gorilla with a sign going, Amy, you should come over here. But every day you'll drive by and you're like, just whatever.
Yeah.
But then your ego's like, no, we're late. We gotta go.
But you're in
to the clinic.
traffic. You have to take a left turn and
Yeah,
go.
you have to go. You're tired. Yeah. So, but then
We got a bunch of
so
those.
just like when you're like listening to the universe, it only whispers because it's like a reason. It only whispers just like, just don't do that, bro. And like, but then your ego's like, do it, bro. Run to stop, bro. Like, so that's the battle. It's like the ego just loud. So when the universe talks to you, it's not. It's just the chill, bro.
And when you get quiet,
You can hear
you
it.
can hear it.
Yeah.
And when you take on the pace, you can hear it. And when you take on the next step, you can hear it.
Speaking of the universe, I don't know if you saw me working on the corner when you came.
No, I didn't. Oh, was that?
In the
I
truck.
mean, I saw the truck.
Yeah, I was in the work truck, right? So I haven't been over here.
See, I wasn't aware. I wasn't
Yeah.
seeing.
So I happened to glance over, and I'm like, hey, it's Lee. I'm like, oh, Fit Lab's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go over there and have a shake. I didn't know if you guys, had shake shifts or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and no one, I don't know if many people know, but I haven't been over to Motor in like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So
No,
speaking
I
of
didn't know
like getting what you want, I've been going the other way, and it was easier just to do my job at work every day.
Yeah.
Work overtime, and just go the other direction. So I pulled in here, and I'm like, where did I go? I don't know where to go. So I'm looking at every
Lisa's
building. Yeah. And finally, I was getting ready to just make a U-turn and leave. And I was like, no, just pull through there and see. And I saw the car. And I'm like, oh, there it is. So the whisper, like you said, it was just a little whisper, because very easily I could have just, went back in.
All I said was, hey, man, you can check it out if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your ego's like, get out, dog. Just go lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and here I am.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because I had a journey in Herbalife where I went really fast, and it was like I don't feel the work was done necessarily. It just came, and I kind of had to. I think I had to go that fast because I'm 42, so I have a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old. So I think I had to kind of go that fast for it to work for me. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, now you want to go to the next step? You got to keep.
You got to do something.
Yeah, and I realized in my life when it gets rough, I just go the other way. And so this coming here, and I know it was for a reason.
Yay,
So,
that's awesome.
Thank you guys.
Fun.
Yay.
Yay.
We gotta give you a shake.
Good job, guys. I love how intimate it was. It was kind of fun and cozy. So, thank you. If anybody was on view,